retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with the cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration. Feet in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab and then take it. Like a disease, bring them to their knees. Take for their disease. Breathe just like a wind, spread into the streets. It's time to make them bleed. 'Cause we just want retribution. Let's go light up the darkness. Make true of an empty promise. Flip cards into weak and harmless. Take to the streets and turn them to a mosh pit. 'Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Tighten up, y'all.
Fleets clacking in the tunnel, about to be a fight. Blue crew is running through, dang, our team is tied. T-Rex looking hungry, must be time to eat. Let's kick it off and bring this rowdy crowd to their feet and tighten up, tighten up. Hey Nashville, we're Tennessee, tough, get tough. You can find us everywhere, all across the nation. Rise to the occasion. Tennessee, it's time to tighten up.
What's going on, Titans Nation? I am your host of tonight's show, Gary Bailey, and joining me right over here, we got your co-host, Matthew Maddox, aka Blueface, and then joining him right there beside him is Mass Ass, aka Anonymous, aka Andy Fitzpatrick. And then, guys, for our special guest, we got the one, the only, Ryan Harris from the Jump Pass podcast. Guys, welcome into What's Shaking Titans. Man, I appreciate all y'all joining us. We got an awesome show to unpack for y'all. But before we get started, if you're watching us live right now on YouTube, please take the time to subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on all notifications to get the latest from What's Shaking Titans, as well as give us a big old like. That will help us out with the YouTube algorithm. That way more people get to see our video. We'll pop up more often. And then if you're watching us live right now on Facebook, just want to give y'all a big shout out. Please take the time to share us out to all your friends, to all your groups. The more you share us, the more people get to see us and know about us. Sharing is caring. Guys, with all that being said, we got an awesome episode to unpack for y'all. So, man, Ryan, man, so how's your day been, bro?
Day's been pretty good, just enjoying the weekend, enjoying Saturday, watching some college football, doing gas stuff, you know what I'm saying? Just enjoying the weekend, man. How y'all doing?
Man, awesome, bro. Been busy at church today, watching some kids. Other than that, man, here we're getting ready to do this podcast. So, Matthew, both of Matthews, really. So, how about y'all?
Yeah, just kick back, man, chilling, waiting on tomorrow, So, yeah, same here, just dadding, being a dad, and definitely excited.
Definitely, man. Like, being a dad's big, man. I don't. Ryan, do you have any kids?
No kids, man. I'm gonna leave that up to y'all, man. When it comes to that parenthood, man. But I've had nieces and nephews when they were like 3 and 5 years old. So I babysitted before, so I got a little taste of parenthood. But y'all can have that right there.
Well, guys, so with all that being said, we're going to kick off tonight's episode. We're going to do a quick recap of Titans versus Browns. Of course, the Titans fell 27-3 to the Cleveland Browns last week. Man, are there any thoughts y'all want to kind of talk about what went wrong for the Tennessee Titans during this game? We'll shoot it over to Matthew and Massey first, real quick.
I mean, just bad execution all the way around. You know, I know I sound like a broken record, but that's exactly what it was. You know, we gotta execute better. We gotta see things differently on the field. You know, I understand, like I said last week, I understand we practice and we prep for a certain team in a certain game. But once you get in that game, and especially if you get through a whole half worth of it not working, your strategy and your game plan not working, you got to go elsewhere in the playbook. So I feel like that was definitely one of my downfalls.
Yeah, you know, I agree with you, you know.
I feel like I said enough last week, man.
Right? I mean, bro, between our podcast, Bryce's podcast, and then the 615 podcast, I want to give a huge shout out to both of them guys. So, huge shout out to Lee Hills of the 615 podcast, who I co-host with. You can catch that podcast on all your podcast streaming platforms on Wednesday mornings. So, definitely go check that out. That's the 615 podcast. And then you got Bryce Hill. You can find him on YouTube as well as Twitter X, whatever you want to call that now. But you can find him at the Bryce and Haley Show. Definitely go check them out. Both of them are great watches. You know, I want to give another huge shout out to Bryce Pratt. Over the week, he lost his father, and I want to say it was maybe like Monday or Tuesday. I'm not 100% sure what day it was on, but his father passed away. So, guys, there is a GoFundMe page created for Bryce Pratt to kind of help him out as he's going through this loss and everything. So you can find a link in the description below. Man, if you're able to, definitely go over there, help this young man out, man. You know, whatever you can do, it would be awesome, and I'm sure Bryce would greatly appreciate it. So, you know, with that being said, guys, I also want to kind of...
I've got an itch I can't scratch, I'm missing a piece that completes a whole part of me, an open wound scar to see. Everybody come here, gather round, welcome to the freak show, the best in town. What the hell's wrong with me? I don't get along with anybody, honestly.
Ryan, how did you feel after last week, man?
Well, when you think about it, I know Gary mentioned like what went wrong with the Titans. My question is what went right with the Titans, because that was kind of hard to figure out. With the losing 27-3. The only thing I can come up with was we scored. We got a field goal. That was it. That was the only thing I can come up with. Stonehouse is really good, but as much as I like Stonehouse, I hate seeing Stonehouse on my TV screen all the time. So the offense, nothing real right. The offense was terrible. Couldn't run the football. Couldn't throw the football. Terrible on third down. At least we didn't. I guess you could say we didn't turn the football over either. So I guess that's a positive. But other than that, the offense was terrible. The defense, particularly in the secondary, was terrible. Even the pass rush. The pass rush wasn't that well either. Missing on plenty of sack opportunities on Watson and making Watson look like the Pro Bowler he was before all the allegations and everything.
Talk about it, bro. Like, for real, man. Like, my biggest takeaway, especially on defense, was just the lack of wrapping up. How many times did we get pressure on Deshaun Watson and we didn't wrap him up, man? And of course, like you said, he looked like the Pro Bowl Deshaun Watson from back in the day because of that. And then of course we got to go to, offense. I mean, between the offensive line not blocking good, and then Tannehill, doing Tannehill type stuff, forcing the ball into triple coverage, overthrowing wide open receivers. It kind of just, it was just a crap show, man. I don't know, a lot of Titans fans were kind of sick. Even I think, halfway through the game, you could tell like there was just no hope for us. So, guys, real quick, I do apologize for the brief interruption earlier. I had to go pull up the chat here, so that way I'm able to pop that up on the screen. So we got Al Pierce in the comments who says, "Tighten up, gents." So I want to give a huge shout out to Al Pierce, man. Appreciate you taking the time to tune in to What's Shaking Titans. And so Maddox, man, what is your biggest takeaway? Like, what was the one thing that stood out the most to you week 2 or week 3? I'm sorry.
I think for me and a lot of people, the biggest hit from week 3 was that I think Andre Dillard is our weakest link. I think when you look at the roster from top to bottom, you have a lot of problems out there. Like the O-line's not perfect. Like it's just not. And I've seen people say, move pieces around and stuff like that, but it's all the same. It's the same guys. Just playing different positions. Does that work? We don't know. Just like last year, I think left tackle is that's our Achilles heel. And I think Dillard is just the weak point of the team. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of other problems, but I think that's what stood out the most again was, and of course he played against Myles Garrett. That Myles Garrett is Myles Garrett, but definitely the weak point, man.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Definitely shown a weak point, if not, like you said, the biggest weak point for this Titans offense this year. And I know we'll kind of get into this a little bit later, but Massey, let me ask you this, man. The one thing that stood out to me was the game plan. It's like we reverted back to our week 1 game plan where we're feeding Tajay Spears more than we're feeding Henry. And, to me, like, you don't have a good Tannehill without a good Henry, So what's your thoughts on that, and what was your biggest takeaway?
Yeah, Maddox and Ryan both made great points. Just not being able to get points on the board. That's the main thing. The play calling. Like you just said, we gotta. The biggest takeaway of the whole game is that we really need to take from this game, and I would even go as far as to say the other 2 games that we played as well. Even though we won against the Chargers, we still need to take away from, always trying to stick to a certain game plan. And like I said, I know I keep saying that over and over again, but that's exactly how I feel about it, is that there has to be better, situational football. And that's going to take not just 1 or 2 players on the offense or the defense. That's going to take all 11 players on both sides of the ball, and special teams included.
Yeah, for sure, man. So, guys, with that being said, we're going to be kind of going back and forth, I'm sure, as we continue through our topics here, and we'll bring up stuff from last week, probably week 2 and week 1 as we continue on. But let's go ahead and jump into our week 3 power rankings, or, going into week 4. So I'm going to bring that up for y'all real quick. So here we go, guys. This is this power ranking was kind of a collaborative talk between me, Maddox, and Massey. So this is what we came up with. Coming in at number 32, we got the North Carolina Tigers, a.k.a. the Panthers. At 31, we got the Ford Mustangs, a.k.a. the Broncos. At 30, we got Embarrassing, a.k.a. the Chicago Bears. At 29, we got the Achilles Jets, and they are tied with 28 for the 29th position, and the 28th is the Dwarfs of the Lonely Mountain, and which is the Vikings. And then you go up to 27, and 27 and 26 are also tied. We got the really big Smurfs, a.k.a. the New York Giants, and then at 26, we got the Tesla Fireball, a.k.a. yours truly, the Tennessee Titans. At 25, we got the Patriots. And then tied for 24th, we got Bulls, Patriot, the Texans. And they are tied with the Boston Bobcats at 23, which is the Bengals. And then at 22, we got the LA Sheeps, also known as the Los Angeles Rams. 21, we got the Pirates of Hawaii, the Raiders. And then at number 20, we got Actually Does Not Exist, To Be Determined. At 19, we got the Red Doves, which is the Cardinals. At 18, we got Lightning McQueen, which is the Chargers. At number 17, we got Pirates from the Islands of the Caribbean, the Bucks. At 16, we got the Red Stallions, a.k.a. Atlanta. At 15, we got Eagles from Pittsburgh, a.k.a. Seattle Seahawks. At number 14, we got the Cowboys, a.k.a. the Colts. At number 13, we got the football logo, Cleveland Browns. At number 12, we got the 49ers 69ers Stars, and they are tied for 12th with Dumb, and Dumb is the Commanders. So the Commanders coming in at number 11 there, but they are tied for 12th. Then at number 10, we got the Baltimore Orioles. And then at number 9, we got Greenland Google, a.k.a. Green Bay. At number 8, we got Patrick Starr, a.k.a. the Cowboys. At number 7, you got Kentucky Fried Chicken, which is the Bills. At number 6, you got, and they are tied. So these next two teams are tied again. So we got we got Simba's, a.k.a. the Lions, and then we got the St. Louis Rams, a.k.a. the Saints, and they are tied for 6th. At number 4, we got Swift and Kelsey, Kansas City Chiefs. At number 3, you got the Atlanta, Florida Dolphins. At number 2, we got A.J. Brown, the Eagles. And then probably one of my favorites on here, at number 1, we got Seems Fake, a.k.a. the 49ers. So, guys, I'm going to bring y'all back in here real quick, man. Ryan, what's your thoughts on those power rankings? Would you change anything around, or you think that's pretty fair?
I like the creativity of the names and everything, so that was very hilarious. I would probably say the only thing that I would change, I think first of all, I think these are good power rankings. I probably say the only thing I would change, honestly, I would probably put the Dolphins second and the Eagles third, just simply because of how dynamic the Dolphins have been on offense. The Eagles, they have won their games just like the Dolphins have, but the Eagles haven't exactly played complete football yet. The Dolphins have played a little bit better, especially on offense compared to the Eagles. But other than that, I think it's a very spot-on power rankings.
Yeah, we went back and forth probably a good 3 hours, guys, on that. Just going back and forth. Well, man, like you seen, a lot of them are tied right now. We did that because it's still very early, and I feel like doing a week 3 power ranking is just way too soon. But we wanted to kind of do it and bring a level of laughter and entertainment to the fan base, especially coming off of such a droomy loss, man. So, we're just trying to lighten the mood, give people something to laugh at. But yeah, I could kind of see that. What's your thought, Maddox? Do you think Dolphins could slip up to number 2 there?
Yeah, I think that was one of the teams that, we kind of went back and forth. I think we all agreed that 49ers were definitely, still in that first place position. But with the Eagles and the Dolphins, like Ryan said, the Dolphins have been just so versatile and just dynamic on offense that it's hard to stop them, because if you close out one option, they've got, a million more. And they're one of the only offenses like that, I'd say, besides the 49ers or the Eagles in the NFL, that can do that. So, it was a toss-up, man. I think the only reason that, I stuck with the Eagles was the 200-yard rushing back-to-back games. That offensive line is just outstanding, man. And, they've kept showing that, year after year. And they just, it's almost like they get progressively better. So, yeah, I think either way, that could have been another one that was tied up, though, for sure.
Yeah, and, hats off to the Dolphins, man, because they literally destroyed the Broncos. They throttled them, 70 to 20, right?
Yeah.
I would have kicked a field goal just to break the record. I'm just saying, that's me.
Yeah.
I'm a little petty like that. I gotta have them records. But yeah, the first time that's happened since 1966, the Dolphins puts up 70 points. Man, that's a high-powered offense with Tua, Tyreek Hill, and then they, like you said, they have a good offensive line up there. And then their defense, man, hats off to their defense. They got a solid defense. So it's something that, I think they definitely sent a message to the league saying, hey, look out, we're legit this year. But guys, before we continue on into our next topic here, I want to go back to our comments. We got Al Pierce hopping in here, and he says, Herbert, sorry, I'll get that out in just a second. Herbert has played left tackle before. He may move there after NPF gets back. So, yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I think, I
mean,
think,
I'd see Hubbard first.
yeah, I could see that. I think that, once MPF comes back and Skornowski comes back from his illness, I think we can get a little bit more clear understanding of how the O line is going to be. Because Skornowski, he played tackle. He can play tackle, he can play guard. So I guess once everybody kind of gets back to healthy, which will probably be most likely next week or the week after, then we can see about moving different parts of the offensive line to kind of help out with blocking and things of that nature.
But yeah, I agree, man. And, we were talking last night, me and the co-host, and, I mentioned this. I was like, right now I feel like we have like 5 different puzzles in front of us, and we're trying to force, a piece from each different puzzle to go together in one puzzle, and it's just not working right now. And, instead of trying to find people that are, who can gel or already gelled, and I mean, the bottom line is we struggled last year offensively on, offensive line was terrible. And it looks like, so far this year, there ain't been much of an improvement. I will say this, I don't think they're as bad as we think from what we're seeing. I mean, if you look at their stats, especially you go to week 1, what was it? They were ranked 11th for pass blocking. And then everybody's kind of been talking about, and I'll let Maddox kind of talk about this as well, because this has been his whole thing. But, everybody's been kind of complaining, well, they're not giving Tannehill no time in the pocket. They're not giving Tannehill no time in the pocket. Well, actually, they're giving Tannehill pretty good time in the pocket. I'm going to let Maddox kind of talk about that for a second. So talk about it, bro.
Yeah, yeah. So everybody talks about the pressure on Tannehill and stuff like that, and you're gonna get that. We're playing NFL football. We're not playing high school little league football anymore. Like all these guys are performers. So with that being said, man, the time to throw on average in the league has been anywhere from 2 seconds to 3 seconds, somewhere right around in the middle of that, 2.5 seconds. And that's for the entire season this year. The guy who has, and I'll let you guess on this, Ryan, because I've already kind of discussed it with them a little bit, but can you tell me who has the least amount of time, in your guess, who has the least amount of time this year to
Kind of just judging by what's been going on around the league, I would probably say Joe Burrow because of the calf injury. I'd probably say that would probably be my guess.
Yeah, so it's Tua Tagovailoa
Okay.
with the Miami Dolphins. He has the least amount of time this season to throw, and he's performing well. That's the number 1 offense in the NFL. The guy who has the most amount of time, he has 3.1 seconds to throw in the pocket, man. That's Bryce Young with the 0-3 Panthers. Tannehill's right in the middle of both of them on time to throw. So, with that being said, man, how much of this, is actually on the offensive line? I mean, how much blame can we put on them all the time? We say that's the big sore thumb. That's the big elephant in the room that we need to address. But I mean, Buck Rising made a great point on 104.5 The Zone yesterday, man. He said that, Tannehill's just going to have to adjust. This offense has to adjust altogether. We're going to have to get, quicker plays, get the ball out faster, short routes.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to open everything up, No, but, and with the Spears and the Henry thing, you just got to, once you start getting these faster plays out, man, and you show that you can move the ball again, because last week you showed everybody in the NFL that you can't even get down the field. So once you start showing, that you're a threat again on these short plays, maybe that'll open up stuff, downfield. But there's plenty of time to throw in the pocket. Per next gen stats, there's plenty of time. So we just gotta get the ball out quicker, I think, man, and make best of what we got, because it's not getting any better right now. So
Yeah, man, when you told me that, we were in Nashville at the time, and when you told me that, man, it really just blew my mind. So real quick, guys, I want to go to the comments. We got Bryce Pratt from the Bryce and Haley show. So I want to give him another huge shout out. He says, "What's up, Blueface? What's up, Goofy?" So, what's up, Bryce? And, man, we're thinking about you. Our prayers, our thoughts and prayers are going up to you, man. And once again, guys, if you're able to, go help this man out. Go to his GoFundMe page. There's a link in our description below. Just go down there. If you're able to, help him out, I know he'll greatly appreciate it. And then Al Pierce also commenting, saying, praying for you and your family, Bryce. So, we got prayers going up, every which way for Bryce. So guys, let's just keep sharing that love, because ultimately that's what we are as a fan base. We're just a giant big family. So with that being said, guys, I actually gotta kind of refresh my my comment section here. So, man, Maddox, you want to go over? You or Macy want to go over the injury report, and then we'll get Ryan Harris's thoughts on that.
Yeah, let Massey go over the injuries here.
Yeah, I got you. So, for the Bengals, they have 5 players injured. And just a heads up, I'm probably going to butcher these names, but I'm going to do my best. We got Awuzie, the cornerback for the Bengals. His game status right now, it's just blank, so I'm not exactly sure what that means. I'm assuming that means that they're probably going to be able to go. It doesn't say questionable or out. Joe Burrow is also the same. Davis Gaither, he is questionable. That's the linebacker for the Bengals. Jones, a wide receiver, he is out. And Smith, a tight end for the Bengals, is also out. And for the Titans, we have 9 players out of the game, not counting Josh Wiley. He's been out. Okay. So for the injury report on the Titans as of right now, Nico Autry, he is questionable, but I definitely believe he's going to play. Traylon Burks is actually out for the game. Gifford, our linebacker, he's out for the game. Henry, Hopkins, and Landry, all 3 are going to play. Elijah Molden, he is out for our game. Peter Skronsky, he's also out for the game. And Tierra Tart is questionable. I also believe he's going to play as well. And Josh Wiley, the tight end, he is going to play. So that's actually 10 players on the Titans report.
Yeah, so the Titans injury report definitely growing, man. Ryan, what's your thoughts on that injury report?
I mean, that's kind of been the story for the Titans over the last 2 or 3 years. It's just the injuries piling up. I'm kind of in the minority though in regards to the injury report, because it's not as bad as you really think. With Skronsky, it's not football related. I think it's a lot of these different injuries are kind of more like precautionary. Like Landry is more precautionary because he's bouncing back from an injury, season-ending injury from last year. So a lot of these are just precautionary. Hopkins is going to play. He's probably going to be on the injury report from now until probably the end of the year, and it's just it kind of is what it is on that. But I think unless he's like seriously hurt, he's most likely going to play. The one that just stands out to me is just Burks. Burks not playing. That's a big disappointment. He kind of took. I said this about 2 months ago regarding Cal Phillips. I don't care about what Cal Phillips can do on the field because he can't stay healthy. And I'm going to say the same thing about Burks. I don't care what Burks can do on the field because the first thing he needs to do is get healthy. Your best ability is availability. And if you're not available, I don't care about how big of a performer you can be.
Talk about it, bro. I mean, you're spitting facts right now. And, I think, one of the things I've noticed, especially since week 1 and definitely week 2, and we've seen it a little bit week 3, but, DeAndre Hopkins, when Tannehill went out on that field, especially week 1, and started kind of force-feeding him the ball, DeAndre Hopkins never got going until we were able to get Traylon Burks going. And then, Burks ended up allowing Hopkins to get going. So I think, they're kind of like, they kind of go together, man. So, I believe for D-Hop to get going, we need Burks, so we're definitely going to need, one of these other receivers to step up big to kind of take that pressure off of D-Hop where they're not doubling him or tripling him and Tannehill's not trying to force feed the ball to him. But, we'll actually kind of dive into that a little bit later. So, guys, let's talk about this game tomorrow. We got the Bengals versus the Titans, a.k.a. The Boston Bobcats versus the Tesla Fireball. So, with that being said, this is going to be another probably cringe-worthy game, in my opinion. Without giving away, just yet who I believe is going to win this game. Let's talk about the Bengals defense because this has been a focal point of their team. They have a really high-powered defense. They got a really good defensive line, and they got a decent secondary. Massey, man, what's your thoughts on that, bro?
Well, right now the Bengals are ranked 19th in defense, against our 31st in offense. So, I mean, the numbers don't lie as far as that goes. But I really hope that we can come in there and, maybe flip-flop that around a little bit and, totally catch the Bengals off of their game and like I said, flip-flop those stats and those overall ratings right now through 3 weeks so far, flip those around a little bit and increase those numbers. Yeah.
And then, Ryan, man, with Joe Burrow's injury, we've seen him kind of struggle right out the gate. I feel like Burrow is somebody who kind of starts off slow and then as the season goes along, builds up and gets better. So do you expect to see a game where we could see a better Burrow, kind of like we did Deshaun Watson?
I mean, as bad as the secondary is played, I wouldn't be surprised at all, especially now because you got a better receiving core. I mean, Cleveland's receiving core is pretty decent. I mean, Amari Cooper is a Pro Bowler, but the rest of the receiving core is a little bit underwhelming. I mean, now you're facing a whole new beast. You got two all-pro or potential all-pro wide receivers with Chase and Higgins and Tyler Boyd himself. He's also a 1,000-yard receiver. So, it's going to definitely be a challenge. The biggest thing is you got to make Joe Burrow kind of mobile, see how healthy he really is. But this secondary, they got their work cut out for them, and it's one of the worst secondaries in the league, unfortunately. So hopefully the Titans have a game plan on how to neutralize this offense.
Yeah, and you bring up some really good points, man. Want to add to your, kind of receivers list there, but it's actually their running back, if I'm correct, Joe Mixon, right? Yep. Joe Mixon, man, go back and watch the Bengals game last week. This man balled out not only in the running game, but also in the passing game. So he's going to have to be somebody we have to keep, eyes on and make sure that we don't allow him to get going, because if he gets going, it could definitely be a long day. Maddox, man, what's the one thing that stands out about this Bengals team the most to you?
Right now, probably their defense versus our offense, man. Let me go back to what I said at the beginning of the show, about Andre Dillard. Hello, Trey Hendrickson's on the other side of the line all day Sunday, so it's going to be another rough day for him, man. And not to count that they have Logan Wilson out there. They have Sam Hubbard, B.J. Hill. I mean, they have a healthy front four, same way that we do, and we can go into our front four and say, oh, well, we'll get to Burrow, and will we get to Burrow? But we don't know, man. I mean, we got to Watson all last week, but we couldn't bring him down.
Talk about it, bro.
I'll give Watson credit. He's a lot stronger quarterback than Joe Burrow is. Definitely, by all measures, he's a lot stronger than he is. But hopefully the injury to Burrow, like you're asking Ryan, and hopefully that injury slows him down, man, and we can bring him down and have a less mobile Burrow, man. If he was mobile, I'd say that our defense wouldn't be able to bring him down. But hopefully with that calf injury, that slows him down a little bit when you get him to the ground.
Yeah. And so, guys, we just kind of gave y'all our quick breakdown of the Bengals. And as we continue through progressing through the rest of our topics, we're going to be breaking down the Titans, and then we'll eventually get to our keys to victory, what we feel like the Titans need to do in order to secure the win here. So I'm going to start this next segment out for us, guys, and it's just about the Titans coaching, man. And I kind of talked about it earlier, and, man, we cannot go into this game with the same game plan, especially offensively, that we did in week 1 and week 3. The Henry effect is real. We're going to get in that. We're going to break that down in just a second. But, I feel like Tim Kelly needs to do a better job. I know that he's wanting to kind of change the style of this offense up, but with the pieces that we have and, them being our key players, Henry, Tannehill, Tannehill has to rely on Henry. And if Henry starts to get going and he's getting a 9-yard run and then you pull him out of the game, he's not going to get going. Henry is the type of player where he needs to be in the game consistently. The more he's in the game, the stronger he gets as the game goes on. History has shown us that. So, Ryan, what do you feel like, Tim Kelly and also Mike Vrabel, because if we're honest, leadership starts from the top. So it starts from Mike Vrabel and, Rand Carthon, and then it works its way down. So what's your thoughts on, them, and what do you think this coaching staff needs to do or change up here?
Well, the biggest problem right now is you're trying to implement a more passing offense, and you got the wrong kind of personnel. You got a 35-year-old quarterback that's no longer mobile with a bad offensive line, and that's a bunch of disaster. So I do agree that Henry does need to get involved, but I think you have to kind of go along with what the game plan is offering you. Like, for example, week 1, the Saints were bad against the run. The Titans did have success against the run. They got away from that. And I put a tweet on there, week 1, the Titans do the ball 59% of the time in week 1, which is un-Titan-like. In week 2, it was basically the reverse. They threw the ball basically about 43% of the time, and then they ran the ball 57% of the time. So when you look at that, you go with works. That's been the issue. And with Vrabel, I'm gonna be honest. Vrabel has not coached. He has not had a great year to start off as far as coaching. His coaching situation has not been great. Tim Kelly, I do like some of the things that he's trying to do. I do like his schemes. He has scheme players open. Just Tannehill just missing them. He's just missing those players. And then you look at Tim Kelly as well. The only one thing that I will say with Tim Kelly that I don't really like is the red zone offense. The Titans over the last 4 years have been one of the best red zone teams in all of football. The creativity of using Henry, in the Wildcat, or running the football up the gut, or Tannehill, his mobile ability to, create things outside, to create things and create touchdowns and create points. Tim Kelly has not done a very good job in the red zone. And as a result, we've been seeing Nick Folk a lot more than we should be seeing so far this season.
Yeah, and man, you're literally spitting facts here. So, real quick, guys, want to go through the comments. We got Al Pierce commenting in here. He said Chris Moore is going to have to step up big with Burks out. Dude, I actually agree with you 100%. I think this offense is going to have to lean a little bit on Chris Moore and a little bit on NWI. NWI started the season pretty good, which shocked me. I wasn't expecting NWI to do as good as he did, but he was doing really good. So expect to see some mix-ups between NWI, Chris Moore, D-Hop. Somebody else I'd say needs to get going is Chig. Chig has had a rough year. It has been rough for this man. He needs to get going. I don't know what he's got going on in his head, but you can tell that, he's just not playing like he was last year. And, to kind of go back with what you were saying, man, I do like some of the scheme packages that we got now, with under Tim Kelly and all that. And I think it would definitely be good. And I think a lot of the new offensive playbook is based on a different type of quarterback than Tannehill. and I'm not trying to say nothing back because I know this is going to be a touchy subject for Titans fans, but you know, as a content creator who covers the Titans, it's my job to kind of cover all the bases here. So we're going to kind of talk about Tannehill's inconsistency, here, and and possibly the idea of them swapping quarterbacks in the middle of the season, if not in this game. So of course, we go back and we look at Week 1. It was by far the worst game Tannehill has ever had in his career. Then Week 2, turned around and had the best game he's ever had in his career. Then you go back to Week 3, and it's like right in the middle of those two. The one thing I can say is we have seen consistent. The one thing that's been consistent to all three games is Tannehill, not going through his progressions, going with a first read pass, forcing the ball into double, triple coverage, overthrowing or underthrowing receivers. We've seen that consistently through all three games. And I kind of mentioned this with on Lee Hill's podcast with Titan Upload last week. And, we were talking about, the idea, of, like we said, of them going ahead, pulling Tannehill and starting Willis or Levis. Of course, at this point, I think it would be Willis before they start Levis. I want to, and after we had that conversation, something popped in my head. And I talked to, of course, Massey and Maddox about this as well. But if we go back and we watch the 2019 season when we benched Mariota for Tannehill, what did we see from them? We literally seen them allow Mariota to go out there and just have poor game after poor game, have a good game, have a poor game, have a poor game. They gave Mariota every opportunity to try and bounce back to show, hey, I still got it, I can be that guy. But then eventually Vrabel pulled him. Do you think that we're kind of along that line right now with Tannehill, and what's your thoughts on that?
Yes and no. I do think that it could be a situation kind of like 2019, as you mentioned. But at the same time, you're not going to replace Tannehill with another veteran quarterback. You're replacing Tannehill with a second-year quarterback who's only started 3 games this past season. So I think that's the biggest difference. I do agree. It's a lot of inconsistency with Tannehill. I've been saying this about Tannehill ever since he's been the starter here for Tennessee in regards of not taking the easy throws. The check down has always been available most of the time, regardless of who's been in the backfield, whether it's Henry, Spears. We can go back to last year with Dontrell Hilliard. The check down has always been available, and sometimes Tannehill just doesn't trust the check down for whatever reason. He rather will make a throw in triple coverage to NWI or when we had Cody Hollister or whoever was at wide receiver that was not effective at wide receiver, somebody other than AJ Brown or somebody other than maybe Robert Woods or Traylon Burks. So I just feel like, to me, Tannehill is at that situation where we are giving him every opportunity for him to be successful. So it's up to Tannehill to make the most out of it, or else I know Mike Vrabel is not afraid of making changes when it comes to players. It's personnel that he's afraid to make changes with. When it comes to players, he's not afraid to make that change because he's done it before. So I would say probably after the London game, that will probably be the determining factor on how long Tannehill will be a starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah. And you have some good points there. I know Maddox and Macy probably have something they want to kind of throw in on this subject too, so I'm going to let them kind of comment on it. We're just talking about the inconsistencies of Tannehill and, the thoughts of will we see a QB swap. So, whichever one of y'all want to kind of take away, man, go right ahead.
Yeah, just as a whole, there has to be better quarterback play. I know I mentioned it last week on our podcast that, don't always, you as the quarterback, especially if you're lined up right behind the center or even in shotgun, you're right there on the field. you get to see what the defense is doing. So maybe even call an audible. Take it into your own hands and see how that goes. I understand. Doing it once or twice. If it don't work out, then obviously go back to the playbook or the game plan or whatever the case may be. And also, with that being said, in general, there has to be better decision making by Tannehill or whoever the quarterback is in the game. I watched the highlights, and me and Maddox caught some together as well. Watch C.J. Stroud. He almost got sacked and he got rid of the ball. He made the decision to throw it instead of taking the sack. Jordan Love for the Packers in the end zone, getting a safety. It's decision making like that needs to be quicker and better. And like Brian said as well, if there needs to be that switch, I don't feel like Vrabel's afraid to make that switch, but it's going to be a personnel thing, like he said, like Brian said as well. But I feel like Vrabel needs to be less lenient to his offensive coordinator and, be more of the head coach instead of letting Tim Kelly make these decisions during the game. 2 quarters after what I seen in the Browns game, if I was the head coach, I don't know about y'all, but I'm switching it up altogether. Tim Kelly calls something, and if I'm the coach and I don't like it, I don't like what he just called, I'm saying no. What about this? Or let's go in this direction. Maybe not be so lenient to the offense play. We got a better decision making in general. Whoever's back there throwing the ball for us, you have to make better decisions.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there.
Yeah,
Tannehill's,
I think that's what it all boils down.
yeah, it really does, and Tannehill's definitely got to make better business decisions in that pocket, man. But Maddox, man, like I know we kind of crunched the numbers. We went back and we looked at some of Tannehill's, previous games, especially in the playoffs, and we're, to our shocking, because we were comparing, some of Tannehill's games to the 3 games that we got from Malik Willis last year. And of course, we need to say this right now: is Malik Willis is a whole nother quarterback than he was last year. You can see it, you can feel it. It's there. He's a completely different quarterback. Does he still have areas where he needs to grow? Yes. So before I kind of give my thoughts, I'm gonna let Maddox kind of fill y'all in on some of these numbers, and then I'll give y'all some numbers I got as well. So go ahead, Maddox, take it away, bro.
So yeah, going into kind of how me and Gary started on this whole thing, actually be productive and actually make a run. That comeback in that playoff run where we went in to New England, we beat the Patriots, then we beat the Ravens at their house, and then we go into Kansas City. We have all this momentum, and I think the only reason that really come up between us was a lot of people go back to last year in the game against the Texans. Malik Willis, no, he didn't throw for 100, 200 yards in that game. He didn't have a bunch of passing touchdowns. Derrick Henry was the main beneficiary in that game, and he was the main factor on why we won. But as we keep saying, there's 53 men on the roster, there's 11 men on both sides of the ball. So it's a team effort all around. A bunch of people come out and tell me, well, Malik didn't win that game, Derrick Henry won that game. That's absurd to me because Tannehill wasn't effective in those games. I think the Patriots game, he had 77 yards passing. Derrick Henry had 200 yards rushing. You go into the Baltimore game, same type of situation. Derrick Henry had like 180 yards rushing, and Tannehill had 87 yards or 77 yards passing in that game. And then you go into the Kansas City game, which we lost, and Derrick Henry wasn't the X factor there. Derrick Henry only rushed for 65 yards in that game, and we lost. Tannehill did throw for 274 yards that game, but he also had 2 interceptions. So I think that's a big wake-up call for Tim Kelly. Like, just go back and look, man. At like our most profitable season, where we had the best chance to actually go and get a Super Bowl. was that season. And while we're making this run, I don't know what switched, what light bulb blew out, because they completely went away from Derrick Henry in that Kansas City game, and it come back and it was like shooting yourself in the foot. So, we have to be comfortable with change, man. Change is consistent with everything, and Malik's had a better QBR. He's performed better as far as the preseason games versus the 3 games that we've seen Tannehill in this year. Malik's just outperformed him, and he looks like a whole different quarterback.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the numbers I was about to give y'all. So, so far through 3 games, of the regular season, Tannehill has a QBR of 27.9, which is not good by any means. And if you go off the 3 preseason games that Malik Willis has, and of course it's preseason games, so that's kind of here or there, but that's what we have to kind of go off of this year with the way he's playing now. But his overall QBR is 80. And one of those games that he was in, he was basically swapping in and out every other series with Will Levis. So, here you got on one hand where Malik Willis has shown a good amount of improvement, and then on the other hand you have Tannehill, who's showing, some digression, man, where he's kind of falling back and, not looking like a good quarterback. And you kind of touched on the whole the Kansas City game, when we were at the AFC Championship game, where we kind of stopped using Henry. And I mentioned this earlier, a lot of Tannehill's success, with this team, it wasn't because Tannehill was some good quarterback, but it came off the back of 2 people, Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown. And we traded A.J. Brown, and we're not utilizing Henry the way we should be utilizing him. And so we're starting to see, struggles from Tannehill, struggles trying to get us to, down the field and put up these points, And people are like, well, what's going on? You're scratching your head. Well, if you really go back and you go through, since he took over from Mariota all the way till now, go back and really pay attention to those games. You'll see that in those games there are 2 people who were consistent that made Tannehill look good, A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry. So without us kind of putting those pieces into play, Tannehill's going to struggle, Something else I want to kind of bring up here, man, and, we're going to talk about the Henry effect for a second here. And I've kind of swapped up some of my topics here, guys, so I do apologize for that. But, it's just the way of the flow of this conversation has been going. The Henry effect is something that is real, guys. You go back to week 2, that 70-yard pass that Tannehill made, because as soon as he made that pass, everybody's like, oh, Tannehill's back to normal. It was a bounce-back game. I said it right here on What's Shaking Titans. You can't call, if Tannehill had a good game week 2, you can't say it was a bounce-back, only because of one reason. The Chargers don't have that good of a secondary. And, what is it, Nick Bosa on their front, right? Yeah, Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa was only in there for a few snaps, and 2 of his snaps he was able to sack Tannehill. So, Tannehill wasn't really under a lot of pressure that game. And then, he still kind of had times where you're like scratching your head, because once that pass play happened, then you started seeing Tannehill get comfortable. And then Tannehill looked like, okay, maybe he's bounced back, maybe he's a good quarterback. He still did good, so tip of the hat to him, But ultimately, what allowed that play action pass, what allowed that play action pass to happen? Was it because Tajay Spears was in the backfield? No, it was because we had Derrick Henry in the backfield. And what happened? The defense bid on that. And when they bid on it, it allowed Burks to go screaming wide open. And Tannehill was able to hit him, And so the Henry effect is real. You go through all these games in the past, the defense will sell out to stop Henry every single time. And I guarantee you, if we would have had Tajay Spears in the backfield at that time, there's no way Tannehill would have hit that pass to Burks, because the defense wouldn't have bid on it. So, Ryan, what's your thoughts on the Henry effect? And, do you think that's a legit thing for the Titans?
Absolutely. I mean, he's the best player on the team. You gotta utilize your best players. You know, you don't have to necessarily give him the ball every single time, but his presence on the field, it makes defenses wonder like, oh, are they running the football? Are they play action passing? What are they going to do on offense? And that opens up, you know, passing lanes for Hopkins, for Burks if he's, whenever he gets healthy. So it also opens up things for Chig as well. I just think that right now the Titans are at a what I call an identity crisis,
Talk about it.
where where in the past where Arthur Smith and Todd Downing, you already know what they're gonna do. They're gonna run the football. They're gonna play action pass. Tim Kelly is a little bit different. He doesn't necessarily like to run the football at the rate that the Titans used to run the football. So it's a little bit of a identity crisis between being a little bit more modernized, and or going back to 1980s 1990s style of football, which is running the football and kind of letting your quarterback kind of play game manager and not turn the football over. But the Henry effect is definitely real, simply because he is the best player on the team, and the Titans cannot be successful on offense if they can't run the football, and that's just plain and simple.
Yeah, man. Facts right there. Um,
100%.
you know, we've been talking about this for a week now, man, and honestly, 2 weeks really, because we were talking about it going into the Browns game, and that was just like, we have to continue to utilize Henry, because Henry is key. Henry, like we said, Henry is our best player on offense right now. I'm just going to go out there and say he is the best player we have on offense, and we're hardly using our best player. And like you said, we're going through this identity crisis thing. We're trying to, get more modernized, you can say, in the NFL with how we play offense. But at what point do we have to sit there? Because, a good leader, when stuff isn't going right and stuff isn't changing, a good leader is going to say, okay, hey, we tried this. We gave it a chance. It's not working. Let's go back to what is working. As a leader, in church, man, if we're implementing something new and we try it, for 2 or 3 weeks and it's just not working out, I'm gonna drop it and I'm gonna say, okay, we're gonna go back to doing it, this way, because this way is proven, until we can figure out another option. And of course, right now, like you said earlier, Ryan, I feel like we're trying to be more modern, but we just don't have the right pieces for that. I feel like Tannehill is definitely a quarterback that has to have that running game going for him, because that running game opens the passing game. And now we're trying to do the passing game to open the running game, and it's not playing out for us. So, let's talk about this, because one of the things that shout out to the Titan Upload Network, by the way. We had Titan Upload on the 615 podcast, and he was talking about, he feels like we could possibly see a QB swap as soon as tomorrow, during the game, which, I mean, could be possible. But so let's talk about this for a second. If we do see a QB swap, what can Malik Willis bring to this offense that this offense don't have right now? Macy, man, you want to kind of talk about it for a second?
Yeah, I'll talk about it.
Quick
it's
shout
gonna
out though,
be-
guys. I'm mispronouncing his name just as low key jokes here. It's an inside joke. So here we go, Mr. Anonymous here, aka Andy Fitzpatrick.
I said it last week on our podcast. We will never actually know what that's going to be until we see it, till Vrabel makes that call. So, as far as what I think, I think is as long as they implement good play calling when they put Willis in, because in my opinion that would change up. That's just like what Ryan was saying about the personnel. That's going to change up how you call your plays during the game, and what defenses you're seeing and things like that. With that being said, like I was saying earlier about Tannehill and how he sees the line, he's a 12-year veteran. How he's looking at the defense and things like that. Malik may not have those same veteran experiences, like abilities to be able to look at the defense like that. But at the same time, you're in your second year. If you get up to that line, you know the playbook. If you see something, go in a different direction. And definitely, in my opinion, if they do put Malik in the game, they have to run more RPOs. If you have, like I said the other day, I think we were just talking amongst each other, but if you have Malik in there at quarterback, Tajay in there, and Henry at the same time, I feel like you could really make some good RPO plays or whatever the case may be against the defense that you're up against at the time.
Yeah, to add to that, though, running the RPOs and stuff like that, if you're going to feature Tajay Spears on the field, you have to feature him at the same time that you feature Derrick Henry. And it doesn't work. Nobody's afraid of Tajay Spears. He poses no threat to a defense yet because he's unproven. Not saying that Tajay Spears is not a good player. That is not what I'm saying at all. I think Tajay Spears is going to be a great running back for the long haul. I think that's just the case with him. But he's unproven still. So when you put Henry out there and you put Spears out there, like I said to Gary and Massey both, you run out to the outside and you get these outside runs with Spears because he's super fast, and then you're punching him in the mouth with Derrick Henry, and then that opens up your play action. Well, now you're able to move the ball down the field better because they're more worried about, well, are they going to go outside? Now we have to put a box up, stack the box on them. Well, now you're stacking the box, that's going to leave D-Hop in man coverage. Like if you want to feature Spears, you have to feature Henry at the same time. That's the only way that's going to work. And I think with Malik, that's super effective. Malik is a mobile quarterback. He had a lot of time in Auburn. I know he didn't play a lot in Auburn, but when he was at Auburn, I'm sorry, he's still at the practices. He was still in that, that coaching system. I'm sure, that he knew all that. He's been in that type of coaching system. And, when he was at Liberty, man, we've seen, I can go back, and I wish I had the clips, but, there's plays like their overthrow on the play action where Tannehill was rolling out to Burks, and he just overthrew him 5 or 6 yards. There's an identical play to Malik, Malik Willis's college career, identical play, and it was a perfect dime. Even the announcers are like, wow, what a, pass, puts it right on target, on the run. That's the thing that I think Malik brings to us is mobility, and just, another threat. That puts another eye on another player. Now you have to worry, is Spears going to run it? Is Malik going to run it? Is Henry going to run it? Or are they going to throw the ball? That just adds another threat to us, I think, him being so mobile.
Yeah, that's a fair point, man. And, I was actually going to go with mobility. So I think Malik would bring two things to this team on offense, and that's mobility and arm strength. If you go back to his little, I guess it was basic, I don't know what it's called, so if you can tell me what it's actually called, but where he was doing his combine thing, in private, where he threw that like 80, 90 yard pass. He has, anyway.
Almost like the workout.
Yeah, the workout. So, if you go back and you watch that, this man has really good arm strength. And, we've seen his accuracy start to pick up. We've seen his playmaking decisions pick up. Now, with that being said, he still has a lot to learn. Granted, anybody in his position, whether it was Will Levis, whether it was Tannehill, coming in only having 3 games of experience, there's going to be growth, growing pains. That's what we'd have to expect to see is some growing pains somewhere, somehow, But I think that there's also a lot of upside to this young man, with his arm strength as well as his mobility, his leg speed. We've seen it in preseason. Him kind of make some really just jaw-dropping passes. Just hitting. There's a pass. I don't know if y'all remember. I think it was to. It might have been to Chris Moore. But, he literally threaded the needle, and I was just like, man, we would not have seen that last year from him at all. And, he's throwing tight spirals and everything as well. So, I think that, Willis has some good upsides. And, when you watch him, he flashes that it factor from time to time, So, Ryan, man, what's your thoughts? And do you think Malik Willis could add to this offense in any way? And if so, how?
Yeah, I agree with everybody's point in regards to the mobility. When you look at the mobility, what does it do for a play caller? It makes you more creative. You can do a lot of different RPOs, as you guys have mentioned, and also you can do a lot of gadget plays as well. Doing a little, maybe some jet sweeps, things of that nature. Maybe run some power option or maybe some read option with Derrick Henry, which the Titans kind of did a little bit of that when he was, in his three starts from last year. So I think I see the progression with Malik Willis. The thing about it is two things. One, how much more can he improve on based off of what he's done in the preseason, and number two, we as a fan base, how much more can we be a little bit more patient with him because he's a third round draft pick. We didn't draft him number one overall or first round or anything, or even early second round like we did with Levis. This is a third round draft pick, and I'm talking about late third round draft pick to where, he was a third round pick for a reason. He's a late third round pick for a reason. He's a project. And sometimes with projects, you have to be a little bit more patient, and you have to kind of slowly look at the maturation of a quarterback. And I do see the maturation of a Malik Willis. We just got to be a little bit more patient, and Malik just got to continue to improve. I've seen the improvement from his rookie year to what I saw in the preseason. Now it's just about continuing to get in the reps. And Tim Kelly is a very important part of that maturation as well. He has to be able to, tell Malik, hey, this is what you should have did here, or this is what I'm seeing. Well, when you stepping back and you're looking at the different reads that the defense is bringing you, so you just got to continue. For Malik, you just got to continue to get better, and for us as a fan base, we just got to get just continue to be patient, have some patience, and then kind of see the maturation of Malik Willis.
Yeah, definitely. And guys, before we move on, is there anything else y'all want to kind of add to this?
No, run his take back, man. That was on point. Give it time. We like I said in the post, before, we wanted to, put Malik's head on the chopping block, for rookie mistakes, as a rookie. But, I see a lot of people quick to jump to the defense of Tannehill for making those same rookie mistakes in year 12. So we kind of have to, be patient, man. And, I see a lot of people like, well, do we tank for another quarterback? No, we don't tank for another quarterback. I don't want to see us draft another quarterback. Eventually, the Titans are going to have to show us that they can develop a quarterback. Or else we're going to be out here, and stuck in a quarterback carousel just like the Colts were, man.
Yeah.
Not saying that they still aren't. Anthony Richardson does look somewhat promising for them, but and Minshew is playing, pretty good ball while he's out. So, with that being said, we have to develop one of these guys, whether it's Malik or whether it's Will Levis. We have to do something with the quarterback eventually, or else it's another Mariota situation, man. And you gain nothing. That was a second round draft pick, and we gained nothing from that. So you have to show me that you can develop a quarterback, or I don't trust you drafting anything.
Yeah.
Bring Ryan Fitzpatrick back.
Well, I mean, they could always hire Mr. Andy Fitzpatrick right there. I mean, bro, you're available to go and play for us.
Let's go. I'm in there. I'm in there.
Yeah,
he's right-handed, has a bad right shoulder, but he can throw left-handed.
I can go lefty if I need to.
I mean, y'all bringing up some really great points, and I agree. Malik Willis. Everybody got really frustrated and mad at this man. Year one, just because I think everybody had some unfair expectations set on his shoulders. When you're drafted and everybody's saying, "Oh, this is the reincarnation of Steve McNair," one of the few rare successful quarterbacks that we've had as a franchise, that's putting quite a bit on somebody's shoulders. Just like AJ, when we traded AJ Brown for Traylon Burks, everybody's like, okay, well, this is AJ Brown 2.0, and so Burks has this unfair expectations sitting on his shoulders, and then we get mad at them when they're not living up to that hype, to that level of hype. I'll say this, we need to quit forcing quarterbacks to play like someone else. We need to let them go out here and be themselves. You know, one of the things I think the Titans have struggled with, we've seen it with Mariota, and I think we kind of seen it with Malik a little bit, is, Vrabel is trying to swap him from being more of a mobile quarterback into being this pocket passer. And what happened with Mariota, it caused him to get injured, and his career started going straight downhill. And then of course we go back to last year and we go over those 3 games. Malik Willis was forced to kind of stay in the pocket and deliver the ball. And of course that's good. That's a good thing to do because he's learning. He's learning his reads. He's learning his progressions. He's learning the speed of an NFL professional, play. So, but at the same time, we have to allow them to go out there and use, their talent. And both of them were very talented, with their legs. You go back, I'm not sure what week it was, but it was against the Jaguars where Mariota ripped off that 87-yard rushing touchdown. These are both very mobile quarterbacks who have a very quick speed to them. So we got to go out there and we just got to let them play them, And us as fans, we just got to stop putting such high expectations on these players, and when they don't achieve them, then we're all like, well, he's garbage, or he's this, he's that. I'll sit here and say it right now. I think Malik Willis actually has a really good chance. If Tannehill continues to slide this year, I think Malik Willis has a pretty good chance to come in and, if not give a little spark to this offense, maybe just bring something dynamic like, a mobile quarterback, to this whole scenario that we're in this identity crisis. The one thing I did notice, if you kind of look at the play calls we're calling, I feel like it's more kind of similar to what we've seen him run in Liberty with the spread, and stuff like this. So I think that's going to be an advantage to Willis as well. But guys, with all that being said, let's continue on. Let's talk about D-Hop here. All right. So D-Hop has been so far 3 games with us, and it's been kind of lackluster with him. He has some moments where he's flashing. He has a good catch here, good catch there, but he hasn't had the time to have a breakout game. Do we think that this game will be time for D-Hop to have that breakout 100-yard receiving game, or do we think it won't happen? And whoever wants to kind of answer that first, go for it, man.
I think a lot of it comes down to the production that we've gotten from D-Hop this year is similar to the type of stuff that AJ Brown's producing for the Eagles. So that's a great sign for us. But without Corey Davis, there was no AJ Brown. Without Johnny Smith, there was no AJ Brown. There wasn't that threat. Without Derrick Henry, there was no AJ Brown. There wasn't the threat. If Burks isn't out there, I don't feel like the threat's there for D-Hop, because you have, then you're not worried. I don't think anybody's really worried about Nick Westbrook. I don't think that's anything game plan. Like, we have to stop Nick Westbrook. I think that's just something that guys go out on the field and do. Now, Chris Moore has played exceptional to his expectations, if you ask me. He's had 2 great catches in back-to-back weeks. So you could say that we utilize Chris Moore more, and that opens up D-Hop, kind of like Burks has been doing for him. But I think that we just have to, we're going to have to get the ball out quicker. That's what it all comes down to, man, is just getting the ball out and letting the receivers make the play. Yards after the catch, man. Can these guys run with the ball? Can they, can these guys be playmakers? Because that's what we need right now. And it's all about, Vrabel says all the time, next man up. Who's going to be the next man up? The run game's not working. So, last week, we can't run the ball. Next man up. Who's the next guy up? Who's going to take the step and, help us win these games, man, when our bread and butter isn't working? So I think D-Hop can be one of those people, but like I said, we're going to have to, produce some other type of threat on offense for DeAndre Hopkins to even be somewhat effective for us.
Man, that's a good point there. And to kind of add to what you're saying, especially about in the running game where, we weren't producing. Both Spears and Henry both fell short in that game majorly, and Spears had more carries, and I think he had a total of like 20-something yards. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. We'll have to kind of pull up the stats here in a second and check that out. But, they both struggled. And
last week.
yeah, against the Browns. They both struggled. It showed tremendously.
Carries, but
Do what?
yeah, Henry had more carries, but as far as production and time on the field,
You mean Spears?
Spears was out on the field longer than Henry. And, more snap counts.
Okay, yeah, gotcha. Yeah, and they both had a pretty bad game. It was lackluster. The whole offense and defense was pretty gloomy there. So what is your thoughts, Ryan, and how do you think D-Hop can have a breakout game? What do you think it's going to take?
It's gonna, since you don't have Burks, I think what you have to do is you have to be effectively running the football. If you're effectively running the football, that creates one-on-one matchups for DeAndre Hopkins. And you can see, DeAndre Hopkins, even though he's 30, 31 years old, can still make contested catches one-on-one with a defender. But you have to establish the run first. Establish Henry, establish Spears if you need a change of pace. But if you're gonna, try to throw the football to set up the run, Hopkins is gonna have a tough time getting any kind of production, especially when you don't have Burks out there on the field. So I think the number one thing is to establish the run. If you establish the run, it creates one-on-one opportunities for your receivers. So if you can get the run game going, that would definitely help out Hopkins. And, we might see a breakout game, but you got to establish the run first.
Yeah, I agree 100% there. This whole offense relies around that run game. And I know, Titans fans preached it last year till they were blue in the face. We need to stop the run pass. That's why, everybody was so down on Todd Downing. And I kind of mentioned this last week because I was frustrated too. And I was like, I bet everybody wish they had Todd Downing back right now. But honestly, I don't think it's a lot to do with Todd Downing or Tim Kelly. I think it's just we got to utilize our pieces better. We got to play smarter, And like you said, we're kind of in an identity crisis. So, Anonymous, man, what is your thoughts here, and what do you think D-Hop needs to do to have a breakout game?
Well, I mean, as far as the Todd Downing take goes, I personally disagree with that. I don't want anything
Guilty.
to do with Todd Downing anymore. That's just that's just how I feel about it. You know what I mean? We seen what we seen from him. But with that being said, Tim Kelly took over that coaching position, and he's gonna have to do better. I know we're only 3 games in, going into the 4th, but he's definitely gonna have to show us something different. That also goes back to what I was saying earlier about Vrabel maybe not, giving so much leniency to his offensive coordinators, or if it's a thing on defense, same thing with the defensive coordinator. You know what I mean? Be the head coach that everybody believes Vrabel is. You know what I'm saying? And that goes even to the point of maybe going in a different direction on certain plays whenever your offensive coordinator calls those. So that's my take on that. And like I said, I'll say it again, and I'll keep saying it. I'm good on Todd Downing.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. We've seen a lot of just, poor play calling. That's the nicest way to say that. Poor play calling by Todd Downing last year. I mean, some of those screenplays that we ran after you knew for a fact that screenplays were not working, and it was to one of the tight ends we had. We kept throwing him the stupid screen on 4th and 5, and I'm like, just give Henry the ball, man. He'll fall forward for 5 yards at this point. But yeah, I mean, Downing definitely, like I said, it has nothing to do with them. I think it's just really us getting back to what made the Titans successful in the first place, and that's the run game, on the back of Henry. And I like Spears. I think Spears is a awesome piece, and I think he's going to be the future of this franchise once we're able to get rest of the right pieces to go along with him. So right now it's just trying to figure out how to utilize both of them pieces, simultaneously or at the same time. And I'll say this, have both of them on the field, because what is the defense going to do? We've seen them do that, but they've always kind of gone to Spears, and maybe they're trying to set stuff up for later on in the season. They're just trying to put, Spears on the film right now, and then later on in the season we'll go Henry. I don't know. I'm not no coordinator. I don't put that game plan together, but that'd be kind of my hope. For me, man, I think in order to get D-Hop going. Once again, we got to get that run game going. We got to establish the run, because establishing the run it's not only going to help DeAndre Hopkins, it's going to help Tannehill, it's going to help Chig, it's going to help everybody out on this offense. It will help out the O-line, because if the O-line can do, run blocks, they're going to be able to do pass blocks, because they're going to have confidence to go in and say, hey, if we can open up this running lane, then we can protect the quarterback as well. So it's going to be beneficial all over the board. And then we have to get other wide receivers into the game and going as well. Like I said, Burks was key to getting DeAndre Hopkins going in week 1, week 2, and week 3. With him out, we're going to have to kind of rely on, Chris Moore, who had that play action pass, and NWI, who's looked pretty good. But we really kind of need them to kind of step up and maybe elevate their game to that next level. Whether or not they're able to, I don't know. But that's kind of like what we need in order for D-Hop to have that breakout game. So let me ask y'all this, who is the best option at wide receiver other than DeAndre Hopkins for this game against the Bengals? What's your thoughts on that, Ryan?
I would probably say the next guy with wide receiver will probably be, it's going to be between Chris Moore and NWI. But it seems like to me NWI has been been pretty reliable this season. He's made some good catches. He's been very reliable. I don't think he has had a drop yet this season. Chris Moore's been pretty good, down the field. Surprisingly, honestly, I didn't really knew he was, a downfield threat like that. But I would probably say out of the two, I would probably say NWI as far as being familiar with Tannehill. Chris Moore is still trying to find his way in the offense. NWI has been with this offense for now 3 years. So, NWI kind of knows Tannehill. Tannehill kind of knows NWI. Sometimes Tannehill knows NWI a little bit too well, where, when you got 3 and 4 defenders surrounding him, he's still trying to thread that needle. But, NWI I think NWI has been really solid for the Titans this season. I think among the fan base, he's a bit overhated. I do think he brings some kind of value in the running game as well as the passing game. So I would say NWI.
Yeah, I agree. How about you guys, man? What is your thoughts? Who do you think is the best option for wide receiver behind DeAndre Hopkins for this game?
Yeah, I'd say that's your two options really. That's the only two choices that I can give you. I mean, Chris Moore's played great this season. From what the expectations were, in my opinion. So I'm gonna go with Chris Moore, just based off of his performance and how we've utilized him so far this season. But to Ryan's point too, NWI has the familiarity with the offense, and just with Tannehill overall. So I'd say probably Chris Moore, just based off the production from this season. But I'd say it's a toss up. It could go either way with those two. But one of them's gonna have to step up. Somebody's gonna have to fill AJ Brown's Traylon Burks cleats or whatever. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that
And,
hurt my heart.
also,
That hurt my heart, Maddox, man. Why'd you have to go there with AJ?
NWI.
hey, you put his name on the power rankings. Don't talk to me about it.
Yeah, for the Eagles, man. I mean, come on. I mean,
They would have put Mariota on there too.
we should have put Mariota and who else is there? Brett Kern, right?
Brett Kern.
Yep.
Brett Kern. They look like the mini Titans over
The
there.
Mini
man.
Titans. There you go. That's what we should have
He's got an
named them. The
offensive
Mini
line.
Titans.
You could did the Falcons that way
Because
too.
their offensive
You sure
line's
good,
too
bro.
good to be the Titans.
Yep. Yep. Oh man. So Matt, you know, Mr. Hornswoggle, what do you have to say?
About what?
You know, just about the wide receivers, and who do you think stands the better chance at being the wide receiver 2 in this game against the Bengals?
I mean, I definitely, you know, like I was gonna say, you know, in NWI with his experience, I definitely see him having a decent game if he gets put in the right positions to do so, and that could be the same with Chris Moore. You know, play action passes or just like the touchdown pass to NWI in the Chargers game. They got to be put in those certain situations and positions to make those type of plays. And also, I know Chig is a tight end, but like you said earlier, Gary, he really needs to have a hell of a game too. You know, not only against the Bengals, but for the rest of the season.
Yep.
Chig's going to have to put up those numbers that we know Chig can do, and the reason we brought him in here as a tight end.
Yeah,
You know,
talk
so
about
I would
it.
say definitely, in my opinion, NWI and utilize him because of his experience, and same with Chig. You know, utilize him however you can.
Yeah, you know, once again, I really feel like we have to get Chig going somehow, some way. You know, I don't know. I know, like, he had those in the preseason. He had those drops, right? You know, and then that's kind of carried over into the regular season. And it's like, you know, kind of like what happened with Kyle Phillips last year when he muffed the punt, you know, and he was just like doing the same thing over and over and over, and it's like he couldn't break that mode. And it's like we're seeing the same thing coming out of, you know, with Chig here. And man, we have to get him going somehow. I don't think we force feed him the ball, but I think that, you know, Tannehill has to have trust in him enough to say, hey, if I see you open as a check down or coming across the middle, I'm gonna give you that ball instead of trying to force it into triple coverage to D-Hop or anything like that. You know, you go back to week 2, you know, I think it was week 2. It might have been week 3. No, it was week 1 actually. There's a play where, you know, 2 of them where Chig was basically coming screaming wide open, but Tannehill threw the ball. You know, and both times, one was an interception, and the other one was a tip pass that almost was intercepted. You know, and that first interception that Tannehill had, if you go back and you watch that play, right as Tannehill is throwing that, Chig is coming open on the slant, you know, heading towards the sideline, and if he would have put that ball just out in front of him, Chig would have been able to turn it up and at least got 5, you know, to 6 yards, which would have gave us a first down there. But instead, he threw it deep. It was intercepted. So, you know, my thing here is Tannehill has to find that trust, you know, in Chig. I don't know if that's maybe a thing, but, you know, what's y'all's thoughts on this before we get into talking the defense here? And we'll start with Ryan here, man. Ryan, what's your thought?
Yeah, you know, with Chig, I just think that, you know, you got to get him involved. Besides doing the tiny end screen, you got to be able to put him in positions for him to be successful. You know, you know, Chig is just such a really good weapon, a guy who's got a lot of speed, something that the Titans don't really have a whole lot of. So, you know, you want to utilize your most athletic players. You know, I think with Chig, you know, I agree. He has to play better, but also at the same time, the Titans have to do a better job and try to get him involved as well. And that starts with Tim Kelly, and that also starts with Mike Vrabel, you know, game planning against the other team's defense. And it's Tannehill's responsibility, too, to, you know, get him the ball when he's open.
Yeah, you know, I agree. And, Braun Storman over there, man, I'm sorry. You were saying something, and then I kind of shot it over to Ryan. So go ahead and finish what you were saying, buddy.
That's Braun Strowman.
Braun Strowman, my bad, homie.
No. No, if I'm being completely honest with you, I lost my train of thought because I was listening to what Ryan's take was. So what,
Yeah.
Maddox, you got anything?
No,
So yeah,
before we
actually,
move on to like defense and stuff like that, just want to touch on these suspension changes. So we heard that Petit Frere's back, eligible next week, starting next week. So with those suspension changes, so the new rules go as followed: if you bet on a NFL game not involving your team, it's at least a 1 year suspension. If it involves your team, it's a minimum of 2 years. Betting on non-NFL games in a team facility, 2 games for first violation, 6 games for second, at least 1 year for the third. Attempting to fix games is a banishment from the NFL. Inside information and/or tipping is a minimum 1 year suspension. And then there's the third party or proxy betting. That's also going to be a minimum of 1 year now. So that's where the suspension was reduced, and that's how the suspensions are going to be taken out from now on. So that sucks because we could have seen just a two game suspension and already had him back. That would have been the rules before, but they weren't. But that's cool that they lessened it for us. We can get it back on the field because we definitely need them. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there, man. I seen that from Wes Wisely, and I talked to him, on the phone. So I figured I'd throw out those new stipulations for all the suspensions.
yeah, man, I definitely appreciate you doing that. I just actually seen your message there, so yeah. So that's something really good to kind of sit there and go over. If they would have made these changes sooner, we could have had MPF in here, and maybe we see, in my opinion, a different outcome in this game. I don't know if it would affect the win or loss, but I think we would have seen a definite change, offensively. How big, I'm not 100% sure, because in the preseason we did kind of see MPF struggle a little bit, but again, it wasn't with the other starters. So it's kind of like a juggling thing. Like I said, right now it's like they're trying to fit puzzle pieces from 5 different puzzles together, on one line, and it's just not connecting and going together. So man, I don't know.
Hey,
I think it'd be good to get them back in here,
the
though.
attempt to fix games.
Say that again, bro.
Attempting to fix games, man, that's huge.
Yeah.
If they're investigating players for fixing games, start investigating the officiating too.
Yep, I second that.
For fixing games, I
Get the QR code going for
you
fan-controlled
gotta look
football
everywhere,
leagues.
Not just at the players. Maybe this will be something big moving forward. Be big.
Yeah, officiating has been big so far this year, and not just in the Titans game, but all over the league. We talked about it last week, or actually the week before, with Titans Rossi as well. And we kind of were giving out different ideas. Maddox jokingly said, "Hey, we can get a QR code going where fans can take a picture of a QR code and." Them call the play fouls, but we were joking about that.
You scan the QR code.
Yeah, and I kind of said,
on the jumbotron, you shake your head yes or no.
Yep, I kind of said, we need to get one guy who is, right either at the game. Well, you can't have one guy at all 32 games, but you need to have one guy on call where if a flag is thrown, it's instantly sent to this dude, and then he kind of relays that back to the field. Because some of these flags that are being thrown are just outlandish, man. It makes no sense. It's cost a few teams a win. I'm pretty sure, if we go back to week 1, I know Titans fans feel pretty firm on this, but, that so-called incomplete pass, that was a technical fumble, that could have gave us that win there. And then who knows, the trajectory of our season would have been a lot different. We would have been possibly been 2-1 instead of 1-2, So, Brian, man, do you have any kind of thoughts on the officiating and what we can do different to fix all this?
Honestly, I've always been on the minority with officiating, because I always feel like every game you're gonna have bad officiating or some form of inconsistencies with the officiating. The one thing I never really like is, when when you root for a team and they're on the losing end, that should not always be the number one scapegoat is to go to the officiating, because I always feel like, to me, if you play great throughout the entire game, you don't have to worry about the officiating determining wins and losses for you. So the officiating, the referees are going to be who they are. You just have to find a way to kind of play around it and kind of work around it and just do control the controllables. That's all I can really say. Control the controllables. Being able to just do what you got to do to win a football game, and don't put the game in the referee's hands. If you don't put the
Yep.
game in the referee's hands, you have nothing to worry about as a football team.
Bro, absolute facts there from Ryan Harris, guys. And, I'll sit here and back that 100%. I'll even go as far to say this, me, Maddox, and Rossi were talking after the show on that. And I said, guys, do you really feel like if that was overturned? Because we got to remember they blew the play dead. So that means that big return that Kevin Byard got wouldn't have counted, he would have been downed, the ball would have been turned over where he picked it up. So, if you go back and you ask me, do I believe that the Titans offense would have been able to go put up points that drive? I don't, man. Like, I really don't. So, like you said, man, you can't put all of that just because the refs are might have got a call wrong. You can't sit there and say, oh, well, it was all because of the refs. No, because if, like you said, if you had a good enough team, then your team definitely would have been able to go down there, score, and put up some more points, And for the Titans in that Saints game, how many opportunities did we have to actually drive the ball down the field and put up points but couldn't do it? So, I mean, that's a great point, bro. So thank you for kind of, elaborating on that for real. So, guys, we're almost through here. We're going to break down the Titans defense. Then we're going to get into our 3 keys to victory, go over our pick'ems for this week. And then, guys, we're going to kind of close the show out with 3 quick little segments. So let's talk about this defense, man. What about the defensive front? I mean, they've shown some inconsistencies as well. And our defensive front is supposed to be the strongest unit on our defense, But last week we seen a terrible outing by this defensive front, allowing Deshaun Watson to get out of their hands, literally out of their hands multiple times. We seen multiple times where they weren't wrapping Watson up or the running back up or wide receivers up. So Maddox, what is your thoughts on this defensive front, and what do you think they have to do to improve?
Just playmaking, man. Just same way as everybody else on this team, man. You gotta make a play, and you have to execute. Last week, I thought that we had a chance to, do great things, in the backfield, with Watson, and get him down and get a bunch of sacks that game, get a lot of good pressure, and we didn't. We did get a lot of good pressure on Watson, I'll say that, but we weren't able to execute that. It doesn't matter if we can get back there if we're not tackling. It looks like I've said, man, people are scared to make tackles. I don't see anybody that's wants to go out there and hit somebody, man. That's what I'm ready to see, man. I listened to Keith Bullock yesterday talking about this. He's the legend for the game tomorrow, and he said, don't get me out there hyping this crowd up, man, and make me the legend of this game, and then y'all go out there and lose, man. Y'all better go out there and win. Like, I want to see somebody, make a play. I want to see somebody make a tackle, make a stop. And that all goes back to what I said earlier. Next man up. If it's not Harold Landry, because Harold Landry is not the same Harold Landry that we had before his ACL injury. He's just not. Sorry to be the Debbie Downer on that. But, it takes time. Just like, Ryan's point about Malik, man. It takes time. All these things are going to take time. And it's about, people stepping up in the absence of these other players, because you can't magically, say, I want Harold Landry back, the old Harold Landry, and he's going to come back. It doesn't happen like that. So in that absence, he's still a presence on the field. People still, take note to Harold Landry, but guys like Simmons and Tart and Autry, they're gonna have to step up. Al Shazier, Key's gonna have to step up. All these guys are gonna have to play to that next level. In the absence of our entire secondary for sure. Uh, that's just that's a whole nother story that I'm not gonna go into. But yeah, definitely. I like what I've seen from our defensive line, but we got to execute plays.
Yeah. What about you, Massey? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Maddox said it best. It doesn't even matter if we're getting to the quarterback if you don't wrap them up on the initial contact. You know what I mean? Or even second contact. Or we seen it in the Browns game, third and fourth contact. You have to wrap up on first contact. If you get past the lineman, then get to the quarterback. Or, jump in the air, deflect at executing on those defensive plays.
Yeah, man, you're speaking absolute facts right there too. Ryan, man, what's your thoughts on this defensive front, and how can we improve? How can they improve to where they're wrapping up their they're looking like the defensive front we had from years past.
I mean, it just starts with practice. I'm pretty sure that was something that Vrabel wanted to address and did address. It's just kind of just one of those things where you gotta want to wrap up. That just defense is all about providing some effort. If you don't provide that effort, you're gonna get embarrassed out there on the field. That's kind of what happened with the Browns game. Part of that probably, I don't know, Deshaun Watson probably had massage oil all over him, and that's what made him so slippery. I don't know, but yeah,
Oh,
but I don't know, man. But it's just one of those things where it just the defense had a bad day. All defenses have bad games. Even some of the best defenses in the league have bad games, and I know that's just one of those things where Vrabel did address the effort or the lack thereof the defense had in that game against the Browns.
bro, bro, you got me with the with the massage. You got me there, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
Caught me off guard with that one,
Oh,
man.
bro, that was a good one. Oh man, I seen somebody because
Still a
when they
good
were
point,
playing
though.
the Broncos, or I think it was the Broncos, yeah. Somebody cropped it a picture of him holding his tablet and put on there. It was Google, and it was like he Googled massage parlors in or in Denver. I was just like, man, y'all wrong for that one. So, man, real quick, I want to go to the comments. We got Al Pearson here. He said, "This is scary. Listed questionable. Defensive tackle Danico Autry, groin, and then defensive tackle Tier Tart, knee." So we kind of went over the injury report definitely earlier. So yeah, I agree. It is scary because both of them are, pretty big pieces to this defense, especially our defensive front. And then, to what Ryan said, maybe last week maybe the only thing that was wrong was just Deshaun Watson going to them massage parlors before the game and just left with all that oil on them, man. So every time they got their hands on them, they were just slipping right off. So who knows, man? That could be the reason behind the defensive front, and their inconsistencies last week. So, so let's talk about the secondary though, because this secondary really has to improve. So Ryan, what do you think we can do, to improve? How does this secondary start playing? How do we stop seeing passes being thrown over our heads? What's something you think?
Got to be able to communicate better. I've seen that. I've seen situations now 3 weeks in a row where there's a pass and there's a touchdown with a wide receiver that's just wide open, and you got Fulton looking at Hooker, Hooker looking at Fulton, or maybe another case where it's Sean Murphy Burton looking at Kevin Byard, Kevin Byard looking at Sean Murphy Burton, and you just go into a situation where it's just lack of communication. You got to be able to communicate as a secondary. The Titans as a defense play the bend but don't break defense. So having wide receivers go right past you is inexcusable to me. So it's just coming just from a lack of communication. So I think the number one key is to just communicate better as a secondary. So that way it'll avoid wide receivers basically going unguarded,
Talk
at
about it, man.
doing games where the games haven't been decided yet, but it got decided because the secondary just is not communicating properly.
Yeah, communication's definitely been something that I feel like we struggled with in the secondary. So, here we got, Massey kind of slipping back in here. So maybe he took a pointer from Deshaun Watson and went and got some of that massage oil to rub all over him. So, now that you slipped back in here, Hornswoggle, what is your thoughts on, this secondary and how can they improve?
Well, Gary, that's not very nice of you, sir. They can improve by getting more turnovers, jumping more passes, maybe not playing 7 to 10 yards off of the receiver on a 3rd and 7. You know what I mean? They can improve by better execution, just like I was saying about the offense. This team as a whole needs to execute better. Defensive coordinator Mike Vrabel, Rand Carthon, whoever needs to get in on the defense's ears too. Just like the offense, they need 4 to 7 yards or whatever for a first down. That don't make no sense to me. And also turnovers. If we start getting underneath the routes, we're going to see different scores. We're going to see different turns of the field, positional football, things like that. So definitely better.
Yeah, I agree.
Secondary play.
Yeah, I agree, man. That it definitely starts, like I said earlier, it starts from the top and then it works its way down. So, with that slippery take from the newly massaged oil Hornswoggle there, let's toss it over to Blueface, man. Blueface, what is your opinion on this secondary and how can they improve?
Oh man, yeah, dude, the secondary's just absolutely. Nobody likes burnt toast, man. Put it out there like that. Nobody likes burnt toast, man. They've been awful. Same thing with the front four, man. They're not wrapping up, man. They're not executing on plays. No, you got stupid penalties, like Ryan said. You have to avoid penalties. You can't put the game in the referee's hand. Last week, Sean Murphy-Bunting did a lot of that. You have 3rd and short, that it's going to be man coverage, it's going to be a short route. They're trying to play this stick. So you gotta play that. You gotta know that as, a veteran in this league. That's why we brought you here, because we have a young quarterback room. So we brought you here as a veteran presence, to help these guys, to, try to develop these guys. And you're out there teaching them, the wrong things to do, show them the wrong way. We don't want you to show them the wrong way. Show them the right way, show them how to not make those costly mistakes on the field, From penalties, man, you guys know everything boils downhill from there, man. It all starts with if you're just getting penalized.
Yeah, we got to keep that dirty laundry off the field, bro, for sure.
Dumb mistakes, as Vrabel says, stupid decisions.
Yeah. I mean, facts, man. And for me, I'd have to say, for this secondary, and it's kind of like what we talked about with Malik Willis. We've seen some flashes of good here and there. And I think same thing goes with this secondary. We've seen flashes. We've seen some plays like overtime against the Chargers where they did their job, all of them. They were communicating. They didn't allow nobody to get behind them. They kept everything in front of them. They did a good job. And, we were able to get that 3 and out. So we've seen these flashes of this secondary actually starting to gel and do good. So I think, maybe, and this is my hopes, of course, this will, people can call me biased if they want, but whatever, I don't care. My hopes is that they'll continue to gel, and then by the end of the year, we finish this year with one of the best defenses in the league, but of course, it's just going to, like Malik, like we said with Malik, it's something that has to take time. They're going to have to gel, and once they get that communication, together, and, like I said, we've seen it. You go back and look at that Chargers game, and overtime, they had good communication, and it showed. that 3-and-out was awesome. If I'm correct, Sean, like you talked about Maddox, about Sean Murphy Bunting. He had a really big play there. And I think Bunting is going to be low key one of the keys to this secondary. And I know a lot of people's like, well, Kevin Byard. Don't get me wrong, Kevin Byard's a great player, by far one of the best, safeties, cornerbacks in the league. But I think Sean Murphy Bunting being back there with Kevin Byard. Sorry, I'm drawing blanks here. But I think him being there with him is going to really open things up for this secondary and allow them to play more aggressive. Allow them to be able to say, okay, well, this is going to be a slant. Let's jump on it and take it to the house. And it's just going to take some time to develop. So with that being said, Ryan, man, what is the biggest strength and weakness from the Tennessee Titans?
I would say the biggest strength is the Titans' defensive line. Despite what happened last week, it's still, you still got one of the better defensive lines in football with Jeffrey Simmons and Danico Audrey. Harold Landry, he'll eventually get back up to speed coming back from ACL injury. And then Arden Key has been really arguably one of the best defensive players, not only for the Titans, but for the entire National Football League so far through 3 games. So I would say that's the biggest strength. The biggest weakness is clearly the Titans' offensive line. It's one of the worst units in the league. It's really bad to a point where you don't know who's the best offensive lineman on that team. That's the argument right now. Like, where is the strength from the offensive line coming from? So at the end of the day, that's the strengths and the weaknesses, in my opinion, of the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, that's a really good take, man. So what is y'all's thought? And, Massey, we'll start with you, bro. So we're not getting no audio from y'all. Can y'all check and see if your mic's muted? All right, hang on, guys. Let me see if I can get them back in here real quick.
You got us?
Yep, we got you now. You're back.
Okay. Sorry about that.
You're all good.
Like I was saying, I definitely agree with Ryan as far as the defense. The defensive line, they're the better part of our whole team right now, the defensive line. And also agree with him on the offensive line being very tragic right now. They're definitely not helping our chances to win each game. Maybe even go as far as, like I've been saying, better quarterback play, better situational football. So definitely agree with Brian on defense being the best part, offensive line, and maybe even the offense as a whole, going even to the coaching staff. That's one of the worst parts of our team right now.
Definitely, you guys called it, man. For sure.
Yeah, so you're taking the same stance on that?
Oh, dude, 100%. I started the show with, Andre Dillard is our weakest link. Goodbye, dude. Get off the field. But, and then you look back at the defensive line. That's our bright spot. Yeah, they had a bad game against Watson, but that's been the brightest thing. Even with them not bringing down Watson all day, the pressure was there. And we couldn't execute. So, yeah, I agree with both of them, with Ryan and Massey. It's got to go, tick for tat. Defensive line's our strong point, and then, offensive line is our weakest, link. So, yeah.
Yeah, so, I'm going to kind of go somewhere different just to kind of give a change up here. Of course, we know that our defensive front is solid, so I agree with y'all on that. But I think right now our strongest point, through 3 games is Nick Folk. Nick Folk is probably, in my opinion, Nick Folk is the best move by the Titans so far this past offseason. Hasn't missed a field goal.
Yeah, for sure.
He is doing solid. So I think our strongest strength right now is Nick Folk. Definitely being in some of these games the only person to be able to put up points. And then, I'm gonna change it up on offense here. And, Maddox, I'm gonna kind of go off of what you said earlier. We were talking about the numbers and the time to pass, and that's how you really kind of evaluate an offensive line. And if Tua has the less time to pass in the entire NFL, and he can still go out here and put up 70 points, that tells me something. That tells me that our biggest weakness isn't the offensive line as much as it is our quarterback right now. And I'm not trying to put Tannehill down, but I'm just saying right now I think our quarterback is our biggest weakness, And I say that because we've seen Tannehill go out here and
I can agree with that.
to be a 12-year vet, we see him playing and at times looking like Malik Willis did last year. I made this comment. Had Malik Willis had the game Tannehill had week 1, everybody would be saying, "Oh, Malik Willis is still garbage. He's not an NFL quarterback. Let's get him out of here." But because Ryan Tannehill is Ryan Tannehill, a lot of people, giving him a pass. Well, to me, everybody has to be held accountable, whether that's Malik Willis, whether that's Will Levis, whether that's Tannehill, whether that's Derrick Henry, Tajay Spears, Mike Vrabel, Rand Carthon, Miss Amy as the owner. Everybody has to be held accountable. So I think our biggest weakness right now is just coming from that quarterback position and Ryan Tannehill just not being able to, I don't know if he's in his head, it could be that he's just in his head too much and he's not making the proper decisions, but these, forcing the ball into double coverage, forcing the ball into triple coverage, moving in the pocket, and, we talked about his mobility is nothing like it used to be. There's times where he's shifting around in this pocket, when he shouldn't be, and he's getting sacked. And there's time where he just looks like a sitting duck and not moving at all, and he's getting sacked. We've seen one mobile play from Tannehill, and it was a touchdown. And the only reason why he got that was, once again, off the back of who? Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry was in there, and the defense bid on that, which opened Tannehill to run around the side. If Derrick Henry wasn't in that offensive play, there's no way Tannehill would have got that. So my biggest weakness has to be, the QB, and then the biggest strength, definitely, I'm going Nick Folk, man. So Ryan, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do too. I think it's
You can argue that take.
yeah. I can't really argue with it. I mean, he's been our best offensive player by far. I mean, he's the guy that's putting up points on the board. He hasn't missed a field goal. He's made all his extra points. So I definitely agree with that. No arguments from me on that.
Yeah, Matthew Maddox, and Mr. Andy Fitzpatrick there. What's your thoughts?
Dude, so if you look at next gen stats, let's go back to time to throw. You seem to like that, so let's go back to the time to throw. It's the Chargers. He had the least amount of time to throw in that game, and he was the most efficient. Most efficient game that he's played this season. If you go back to week 1, that was his most time that he had to throw the ball all year long, and he threw 3 interceptions, an absolute, just crazy game for him, but it happened. And that's when he had the most protection. So I like the point you made about Tannehill, being the weak point, quarterback play. That's, a very good point, because you look at time to throw, and I don't know, maybe he needs glasses. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, definitely going back to what I've been saying. I said it in the last podcast as well. We're never going to know what it's going to look like if Malik gets put in until it happens. And if it has to get that ugly for Vrabel to make that call, then that's what it's going to be. We're going to sit here and watch Tannehill have a game like he did against the Chargers, or have a game like he did against the Saints and the Browns. You know what I mean? It's either going to be one or the other, and we're never going to be able to, gossip about how good or how bad Malik did until we see it actually happen in the game. So, we just got to ride it out as Titans fans. We got to ride it out. Trust Vrabel, trust his coaching, and his decision making and things like that, and run with it. My personal opinion, I don't know if I'd put Malik in right now, but if you run out of options, if Tannehill if he has another 3 interception game, what are you gonna do as a head coach? Do you keep him in the game, or do you go with your second string quarterback and see what he does? That's my take on that.
Yeah, it's a good point there. Real quick, I'm gonna go to the comments. We got Tennessee Kid 90, aka my wife. She commented on here. She said, just here to say, tighten up, great show, guys. So, want to give her a huge shout out, say thank you for tuning into the show tonight. And to kind of, piggyback off of what Hornswoggle was talking about there for a minute. I get what you're saying, but here's the thing that we know is absolute fact is when Tannehill faces a mediocre defense or better, it's bad. The Saints had a great defense. They still have a great defense. Tannehill went out there, had such a poor performance. Then we go to the Chargers, week two. The Chargers secondary, and I said this before the game, before the game ever came close to happening, was that I fully expected Tannehill to come out and perform because the secondary was below lackluster for them. They really struggle on a consistent basis, just like our secondary. So I figured that would be a decent game for Tannehill, and it was. And then you go and you fast forward to week three. Week three, I kept telling everybody, hey, watch out. Just because Tannehill bounced back here, we're facing a better defense, a high caliber defense. The Cleveland Browns has a really great defense. They have a great, defensive line. They had a good, I wouldn't say a great secondary, but they have a good secondary, And what did we see? We seen Tannehill struggle, once again. So you take that just from those 3 games and you kind of look at what's ahead for us. We got the Bengals tomorrow, who has a really good defense, They have a really good defensive front, and they have a really good secondary. What comes after them? The Colts. And guess what? Their defense is doing really good as well. But then what comes after them? You got the Ravens. And guess what? If they're healthy, that is a really good defense as well. So I mentioned this, Tannehill's true test was in the next few games, after the Chargers game. That's when we can sit there and say, okay, well, yeah, Tannehill's still the guy. Yeah, he can still get out here and win us games, or, no, he's not able to be that guy to go drive the ball down the field or put this offense in a winnable position, So I'm going to kind of stick with what I said there. I'm going to stick to my guns, and I think that these next few games, including we go back, we take the Browns game, you got the Bengals, the Colts, and the Ravens, and these games are going to be telling for who Ryan Tannehill is as a quarterback. Is he still that guy who's able to go and put us in a winnable situation, or is he going to continue to show us stuff like week 1 and week 3? So just my kind of thoughts on that. And to your point, yeah, we won't know how Malik Willis does, in this offense until we see it. But to kind of go back to preseason, we kind of we seen him in the same type of play schemes. We seen him, and of course, not all the times was it against starters. There was a few times where we were playing and they had their starters in. But, so far, Malik Willis through those 3 games has Tannehill beat, QBR-wise. But I'll say this, guys. Right now, my hopes is that Tannehill can get it together for us, because Tannehill has done some pretty good things for this offense, So I hope the best for him, regardless, But if he's not able to, then am I going to sit here and say keep him in just because he's done good for us? No. If we think there's a slight chance that putting Malik Willis in will help this offense snap it together, then I'm all for it. I'm for whatever makes us more productive, So with that being said, let's go to our 3 keys of victory. Ryan, what is a key of victory you have for the Titans?
All right, so the keys to victory, I would say number 1 is it's going to be wide receivers, the Bengals wide receivers versus the Titans secondary. If you can neutralize those wide receivers and make it to a point where, they are not determining how the game is going to go, then the Titans do have a chance to squeak out a W at home. Another key will also be the Titans' offensive line versus the Bengals' defensive line. As mentioned earlier in this episode, Trey Henderson is a very good pass rusher. He might not be at the level of Myles Garrett, but he's just as good, as a Myles Garrett, and he can be a disruptor. So I would say, the defensive line of the Bengals, along with DJ Reader as well. DJ Reader is a very underrated defensive lineman as well. So I'd say that will be the keys of the game. And then my last one will be getting pressure on Joe Burrow. Testing out that calf injury, making him mobile, making him move around a little bit in the pocket, making him a little uneasy, and kind of making this game kind of ugly. You don't want to shoot out with the Bengals. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to win those matchups. Kind of make the game kind of ugly. Try to neutralize and limit possessions. So those are my 3 keys of the game.
Man, I love those keys. They are on point too, brother. So we're gonna kind of give all of us give our 3 keys. So Massey, you want to take it and give your 3 keys?
Yeah, most definitely. I definitely say 3 keys. Offense as a whole, that's going to be a key. Better play calling, better execution, that would be my number 2 key. And let's get some turnovers on defense and actually execute after we get the turnovers on defense. No matter what the field of play is, my 3rd key is going to be let's get some turnovers on defense, execute on offense after we get those turnovers.
What about you, Maddox, man? What's your 3 keys?
We're hitting it, nail on the head, man. I mean, we've got to execute better. We've got to be smarter when we have the ball. We can't have turnovers. Massey just made a great point. We got to get some turnovers generated, man. That's our that's our bread and butter. Run the ball, get turnovers. Run the ball, get construction. Play your game. That's when the Titans win football games. Is when we're running the ball and we make the defense play our type of game. Derrick Henry, like Gary's been saying, you got to leave him in the game. You got to let him wear these defenses down. You can't do that with Tajay Spears. So you have to leave Derrick in the game. I think, just time of possession, controlling the ball, and, feed Derrick Henry, man. Keep working what we know works.
Yeah, man. Both y'all brought up all y'all brought up some great keys. And, I agree 100%, with all of y'all. So my 3 keys, actually, I'm probably going to get 4 keys and then an honorable mention because I think there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen because we are facing a defense that could make us have flashbacks of week 1. And it's, in a way, a little scary, So, my 3 keys is going to be key number 1 is Henry. We got to utilize Henry to his fullest. That's been the key every single week so far, throughout this season since week 1. Henry. If we don't have Henry in that game, then we're not getting that Henry effect. Then, Tannehill's not going to perform good, and it's just going to start slowly falling apart from there. Okay, my 2nd key here is going to be simply, we've got to play smart football on defense. So smart football on defense, because let's face it, we're facing some really good receivers, also a running back who is really good at receiving. So there's going to be plays made on us downfield. I don't think we're going to be able to keep them from doing anything that we haven't seen all these other teams do. So they're going to be making plays, but we have to play smart football. We have to limit that as much as possible to give, this team a chance to win. The 3rd key here is going to be coaching. If for some reason Derrick Henry rips off a 9-yard run or a 10-yard run or a 15-yard run, please, for the love of God, Tim Kelly, please, dear Lord, baby Jesus, do not pull this man out of the game. Keep feeding him the ball. So it goes back to what everybody else was saying as well. And, fourth key is going to be wrapping up. If you get your hands on somebody, whether it's the secondary, whether it's the defensive front, take them to the ground. Don't just like hug them, or slap them. Take them to the ground. Make sure you're wrapping those arms around them. You're twisting. You're doing whatever you have to do to bring your guy down. And then my honorable mention here is just playing consistent football through all through all three phases: offense, defense, and special teams. We got to play consistent through all four quarters. And just consistent all over the board. So those are my keys to victory for Week 4 against the Boston Bobcats here. So guys, with that being said, we're at the end of our show here. Actually, no, we're not. I'm sorry. Let's go into the What's Shaking Titans Week 4 pick'ems. So we're going to start out with Mr. Blueface here. We're going to go with the Blueface pick'ems of the week. So, Blueface, you want to kind of talk through your pick'ems here and tell the fans, who you got and the scores that you're kind of predicting here. And, if you want to elaborate on any of them, go right ahead. All right, guys, so we're not getting no audio once again. So if you'll give us a second, we'll see if they're able to get that kind of fixed here, and maybe we can try this again.
All right, my bad. I'm sorry. I had it on my fault.
Oh, you're all good. You're all good.
All right, so pick the Lions against the Packers. So secured that one. Got the Falcons 23-20. The Dolphins this week with a 34-28 overtime win. The Broncos 17-6. Ravens 20-10. I actually picked the Titans 24-23 tomorrow against the Bengals. These are two evenly matched offenses, and they can be two evenly matched defenses. I'll say that. I'm not saying that they're gonna be two evenly matched defense, but they can be. Just same scenario with the offenses. But I got the Titans winning 24-23. I got the Colts 17-7. The Saints 21-20. Eagles 28-10. Vikings 13-10. The Texans 9-3. Chargers 31-17. Cowboys 40-7. 49ers 35 to a goose egg. The Chiefs 27-3, and then the Seattle Seahawks 17-3.
Yeah, bro, those are some really good picks there. Let's go ahead and shoot it over to Massey's with his pick'ems. So here we go. We got Hornswoggle's pick'ems of the week.
Yeah, so I also took the Lions in Thursday Night Football. I took them winning 24-13. I took the Falcons winning 20-23. I picked the Dolphins to win 27-20. Picked the Bears to win 14-10. Ravens winning 30-17. I picked the Titans to win 20-17. I picked the Rams to win 30-20. Picked the Bucks at 17-14. I picked the Eagles to win at 27-17. Vikings 31-14. Steelers 21-10. Chargers 24-7. I got the Cowboys at 34-14. The 49ers at 27-24. And for Sunday Night Football, I got the Chiefs winning 31-6. And for Monday Night Football, I got the Seattle Seahawks winning 26-16.
Bro, I mean, you got the Chiefs winning big there, huh? Oh, Mr. Big Time Chief Man, huh?
Yeah, it's
so,
the Chiefs, man.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. I feel like, of course, the Chiefs can turn it on at any point, but they kind of been struggling, for the start of this season so far. So it definitely would be nice to kind of see them start to kind of get to being like the Chiefs we known from years past. So, but with that being said, Ryan, before I kind of give my picks, but I'll go ahead and say it, guys. I slacked. been really busy this week, so I haven't been able to really kind of sit down and brainstorm what I think the scores were. But I will definitely give y'all my picks. But so far, what is your thoughts on these picks, man? And is there any particular picks that you want to kind of give?
Yeah, I think the picks were good. I do think that the Bills will beat the Dolphins, in my opinion. I do. I feel like it's just a setup because everybody's been talking about the Dolphins and scoring 70 and how great their offense is, and it is. I mean, it's a dynamic offense. But I think with those division games, it could go either way. I do think the Bills have the advantage because they're at home. The Dolphins have struggled against Buffalo at Buffalo, so I will say the Dolphins win that matchup. And then I would probably say I'm going to be on the minority. Hopefully, Titans fans don't get mad at me, but I think the Bengals are going to beat the Titans simply because Joe Burrow is undefeated against the Titans. His first career win was against the Titans. His first career playoff road win was against the Titans. So until the Titans can get over that hump, I'm gonna have to go with the sure thing as of right now with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Man, yeah, 100, bro. So with that being said, guys, I'm gonna get into mine. So, and this will probably shock a few of you. Maybe not Ryan so much, but this might shock a few of you here. So, let me get back to where I had them. Sorry, guys. So I just kind of lost my spot on here. So, of course, I started out with the Lions beating Green Bay. So we all three got that one correct. And then, I did have the Dolphins taking it over the Bills. I think that's going to be a close game. So I'm kind of right there with Ryan. I think that everybody's kind of over expecting on the Dolphins majorly. I think they're a good team, but like the numbers show, all it's going to take is that right defensive front, and the success could be flipped off just as quickly as it was flipped on. Especially with them not being able to hold up front a lot for Tua. So, that's going to be a close game. I think it actually might be a defense-heavy game for the Dolphins. Then I got the Bears winning. I got the Browns winning. And then for the Tennessee Titans versus the Boston Bobcats, I got the Bobcats winning this game. I agree with what Ryan was saying. There's just been nothing shown from me that Tannehill is going to be able to turn this around. We've lost to him 3 years in a row. So I'm going the Boston Bobcats all the way, and I think it's actually going to be kind of a close to a shutout here. I don't think it's going to be quite a shutout, but I think the Bengals are be able to put a good beating on us. And I hate saying that as a Titans fan. It hurts me to say that, but just if I go off of what I've seen, Tannehill goes out when he plays a good defense like this. He struggles. His O-line ain't doing Tannehill no good, no help. And then from what I've seen from the coaching, them pulling Henry out when they do, it's just there's too many inconsistencies all around the board for me to sit here and say, oh, the Titans got this one hands down. They're going to go out here and they're going to, exact revenge for the last 2 years, losing in the AFC Championship and then losing to them again last year. So I think the Bengals take it. Then I got the Rams winning. I got the Saints winning. I got the Eagles, Vikings, Steelers all winning. Chargers are going to win, in my opinion. I think the Cowboys are going to squeak out another win here. Then you got the 69er 49ers. I think that the Steelers are going to come away in that game. I think a lot of people are kind of underplaying, and I hate talking good about the Steelers because I'm just not a Steeler person. I don't like them. But this is a really good defense. They have TJ Watt, hats off to that man because he is balling out there. So they have a really good defense, and, if this offense ever gets some juice to them, this is going to be a real dangerous team in the future. And then I got Kansas City as well. And then I also got the Seahawks to end that up. So, guys, what is your thoughts on that, before we shoot it over to end the show here? Yeah, Brian, what's your thoughts, man?
I think I like those picks. I mostly agree with them, and I do think that the Titans game is going to be I think it's going to be a low-scoring, ugly game. And, usually that's advantage Titans, but the Bengals have proven to win those kind of games as well. So it'll be definitely interesting to see how that is going to transpire. But, hopefully we both wrong and the Titans win. So,
Yep. I would gladly come on here, next week and eat a piece of humble pie, man. So that's
Absolutely.
Fingers
Absolutely.
crossed. So, all right, guys. So, we're at the end of the show here. We're going to open the floor to allow Ryan Harris to kind of give out, a shout out to all his platforms. Ryan, tell all the fans where they can find you and what are you up to here lately?
Well, first of all, thank you for the invite to the show. It's been a great show, so I definitely appreciate you for sending out the invitation for the show. You can follow me on Twitter, X, or as me and my guys call it, Twix. You can follow me at Brian Harris 662 on Twix. You can also you can follow the Jump Pass as well at the Jump Pass TN. As of right now, I am I'm basically retired. I'm retired from podcasting, so I'm kind of just doing my own thing, kind of, taking a step back from podcasting and everything. But, if any, Titans platform, anybody that got a Titans platform that wanted to invite me to the show, DMs are open. So you can definitely, reach out to me and we can schedule a day and time that, that best fits the both of us.
Yeah, man. And, I just want to give you a huge shout out. I appreciate you coming on, man. You were part of the Titan Upload Network, man. So, you did an awesome job. I always love kind of tuning into y'all's stuff, man. And, I definitely appreciate it because I know it was like maybe a day after I asked or maybe a day before you announced your retirement. And I was just like, oh, man. But, I definitely appreciate you taking that time to come on here, man. It's been awesome having you a part of the show tonight. You had some great takes, man. You got me to kind of bust up, with the whole Deshaun Watson massage oil thing, So I definitely appreciate that, man. Needed a good laugh. So, with that being said, guys, we're gonna toss it to Andy Fitzpatrick for Andy Fitzpatrick play prediction. So, man, you want to give us your play prediction here?
Yeah. I mean, I've had some time to think on it and go back and forth. I was in between Al Shazier or Kevin Byard getting an interception for our defense, but I'm gonna go with KB getting an interception for the defense and. Maybe just wishful thinking, a 33-yard interception return for a touchdown, pick six.
I hope so, because at least we'd be putting up some points there.
I know it may be a bold prediction, but I feel confident in it.
Most definitely. Yeah. And then, guys, we got to close out this podcast. We're gonna shoot it to none other than Titans Blueface for his final thoughts. So this is Blueface's final thoughts.
How we doing, guys? Yeah, man. So, great show. It was an honor to be on here with Ryan. I had a great time. Made some very good points as well. But tomorrow's the Bengals, man. We're flipping the script, flipping the page from last week. It's on to a different story. I'll be at Nissan tomorrow for the game, and I'll be doing the pregame or postgame show live from there with Gary and Massey, so that'll be about 30 minutes after, the game final and everything like that. So you guys be sure to tune in. Like I said, I'll be live from Nissan. I'll be doing some fan interviews and stuff like that, getting some live reactions and stuff, so it's going to be great.
Yeah, man, and definitely, real quick, guys, I want to give a huge shout-out. Blueface is going. He's entered to win Titans Superfan of the Year. So definitely go over to NFL, give him a vote. Blueface, do you want to kind of talk about that real quick?
Yeah, so I'm going to take the mask back off so you guys can hear me better. So yeah, man, NFL.com/honors, and it's Fan of the Year. So all you need to nominate me is my first and last name, which is Matthew Maddox. That's Matthew with 2 T's, and my last name is Mattax. My birthday is September 26th in 1996, and then my email is my first and last name with the number 2 @gmail.com. That's all the information you need to nominate me. if you guys feel like I'd be a great representation for this fan base, I know we had Spider Titan last year, Stephanie the year before, and then Brandon Galloway. All those guys do great things, and kind of been an inspiration into what I do, as far as my back to school giveaways and watch parties and just different stuff like that, man. So I'd appreciate it, man. If anybody has the time to nominate me, I could use all the votes, that I could get for it for sure.
Let's go. Y'all nominate my brother. Let's go.
Let's go. I like that. All right, guys, and then to finally close us out, once again, just want to take the time to thank everybody for tuning in to What's Shaking Titans. If you are not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, please take this time to hit that subscribe button, as well as go on over there, click right there on that notifications, turn on all notifications to get the latest from What's Shaking Titans, as well as give us a big old like. That will help us out with the YouTube algorithm. That way more people get to see our video. We'll pop up more often. And then if you're watching us live right now on Facebook, guys, just want to take the time to thank each and every single one of you. We just recently started streaming live on both platforms. So just want to take the time to thank y'all for watching us on Facebook. Definitely take the time to share us out to all your friends, to all your group. The more you share us, the more people get to know about us and get to see us. Sharing is caring. And guys, with that being said, we always say one thing when we get out of here. Tighten up.
Tighten up.
Tighten up.
Tighten up.
Go. Let's go.
Let's go. Just to kind of throw in one more little tidbit here, guys. I'm sorry. A little too soon on the tighten up. My bad. Let's slow it down some. That's Tannehill does.
No, go ahead.
No, so I just want to kind of elaborate. You were talking about tomorrow. So, guys, we will be doing a post-game show right here on YouTube and Facebook. It'll be 30 minutes after the game where we're going to kind of recap the game, give our final thoughts and stuff like that. We will definitely have Maddox coming live from the stadium. So, definitely tune in. We got a lot of cool stuff planned for that. So, and then also, guys, definitely tune back in next week. Every Saturday at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time for an all-new episode of What's Shaking Titans. And now, with that being said, everybody, take care and tighten up.
Tighten up.
Let's go, baby. Tighten up.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up.